Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Crypto Hipster Podcast. This is your host, Jamil Hassan, the Crypto Hipster, where I bring you the Crypto Hipsters Podcast, which is an amazing podcast with thought leaders, entrepreneurs, executives, artists, musicians, talented people all around the world. And today I have an amazing guest. She is, she is lots of things. She is the social media manager at Unbanks. She's also the community champion at the Algorand Foundation, and she is the Blockchain Ireland founder. She's 18 years old and from Cork, Ireland. Her name is Sarah Jane Kenny. Sarah, welcome.
Hi, thanks, Jamil. It's really good to be here.
Oh, it's great to have you. Thank you for joining me today. And let's kick things off. And I introduced you with a lot of things, so you have a lot to talk about. What is your background, and is it a logical background for what you do now? And I know you're only 18, but you have a great story.
So basically, I first got interested with crypto and all that when Bitcoin first hit $20,000. I don't know if you remember that back in 2017, I think. So I was 13 then, but I couldn't really get into investing at that moment. So a few years later, when I was 16, I started investing, and the way I did it basically was I had €100 and I put €25 into Bitcoin, 25 into Ethereum, 25 into Cardano, and then I was going to put 25 into Elrond, but it wasn't on Coinbase. And I looked at Algorand and it sounded cool. So I was like, oh, I'll put €25 into that like a proper degen. But only until then, I went onto Twitter and they started helping me a lot more on where to like put my crypto into wallets and stuff like that. And I kind of just synced into the Algorand community more. I fitted in more. And from there, I just started researching Algorand a lot more and started doing quote unquote shit posting on Twitter, and it took a good step. And after that, then I decided to start working in the ecosystem. So I put myself forward to be like community manager or help with social media when Algorand was the ecosystem was only starting to grow. It was before it even had a CEX or a DEX. Luckily, we have a lot of stuff in the ecosystem now. But that's how I got into sort of working in Web3. And just at the beginning there, just going to reiterate that community champion at Algorand Foundation. So what that sort of portrays is basically I can do events with Algorand around Ireland, which is very fun. I do some of the online socials as well, and just basically raise awareness about Algorand in Ireland. And with that, we try to get as many people as we can to look at Algorand because once you look at it, it's kind of you don't look back. There's so many benefits. And we'll get into more of the technical stuff later on. But as well as that, I recently was with our Offchain Ireland founder now. So what that entails is basically Offchain is a huge network all around the world. There's leaders in chapters in different cities, and so they just have a great network, and it's good for setting up events, which I've recently found out I love to do. And then apart from that, I'm also community manager and social media manager at Unbanks, which is a data union. So basically, use your data to earn, which I think is going to be the next big wave in Web3, which I'm excited to talk about later too. But up until that date, in personal life, I'm studying software development and hoping to go get a degree in it. And then I'll see what happens after that. I have other ideas and plans for startups as well, learn blockchain development, just kind of getting my toes into everything and just working hard to get the skills that I need to be able to produce what I want in the future. So it's been quite a fun ride so far. Very, very busy, but been totally in Web3 for the past 3 years now, Jamil.
Awesome. That was not on my bingo card to talk about data to earn, but let's talk about that first. Okay. What is it? What are the benefits of it? And how do you see that as being the next frontier of data management?
So basically, there's like these labor unions in life, and like you go to them if you have any problems and they help you out. Basically, a data union is the same idea. And what you do is, say on banks basically is you use your transactional data. So you go and you do your shopping and you tap your card. That's a piece of data right there. If someone sends you like a fiver on Revolut or on PayPal or something, that's also a transaction too. So we'll keep all that data, and you can choose which companies you'd like to sell to. So you don't have to sell to oil companies, you can just sell to green companies if that's your preferred choice. Obviously, the more companies you want to sell to, the more money you can earn back. But it's just basically giving people control over their data again and giving them the power to, do what they want. Because obviously, data in the past couple of years, it's been misused in quite a lot of ways, even in the Web2 space more so. And so I think Web3 is all about empowering people to, change the monopolies that are out there at the current moment. So that's why data unions, I believe, are going to be the next trend, because obviously they have not picked up yet, but with like NFTs or with DAOs that are currently happening, once a successful one starts to run, we'll see the true power of a DAO, which I still think is yet to be cracked. And so I believe data unions will be the next big thing, because obviously if you can get a cup of coffee every month just from doing your normal activities, who wouldn't want to do that, if you know what I mean?
I intrigued. I'm intrigued. You said we have quite a bit of quite a few DAOs out there. So you're saying that the current ones don't crack with their full potential. Is what and what do you think is the full potential of the DAO?
I mean, like there is some that are using it quite well, but I think it's still premature. It took Bitcoin 10 years to be on mainstream media, really, like to be like credible. So I feel like it'll take a few years for the ideas to sink in, and for users and the interface to be a lot easier to be used. By I mean like crack the frontier. Like NFTs have done it, because even normal people, like say people who work in photography, they weren't originated from Web3, but yet they're using NFTs now to better their businesses. So I feel like once DAOs are used for, like, say for employment, if DAOs are used for HR and people actually start to get jobs in quite a sum on DAOs, if it was a HR DAO, well then that would be quite successful. But I mean, unless anyone would like to tell me which DAO is successfully onboarding people or being used properly, but like I do think it's like it will be cracked, and it will be like a great source of power um to whoever is using it. But I'm very excited for it. I really like devs, and I like the idea of it, and I want to go into it more myself personally as well.
I see it as an opportunity for people who would never ever make the C-suite or board of directors to be able to do that.
Yes, exactly.
So let's talk about specific. Let's talk about the Algorand. The Algorand. I can't pronounce that word for some reason today. Algorand
Algorand.
Foundation. What's that all about, including its unique greatness, and why do you love it so much?
Okay, so Algorand, well, on Twitter, there's a lot of facts out there. There's so much. It would confuse you how much good stuff is about it. But I'll stop shilling it that way. Basically, um, what is so good, what I like about it, that I always tell people, is it's carbon neutral. Because obviously, as part of Gen Z, I'm quite more conscious about climate change, I'd say, than quite a few other generations possibly. And so with that, I think it uses one of the least amount of energy per transactions. Obviously, it's not a proof of work, and it's not like proof of stake. It's pure proof of stake. It was the first ever one, PPOS, which was designed by Silvio Macaulay, the founder of Algorand, also a Turing Award winner, which is pretty impressive. The team of scientists behind Algorand, which gives it like more legitimacy. And I feel like with Algorand being more legitimate than some blockchains, but like I think all blockchain technology is very good, and what everyone is trying to do is very positive. But I feel like they're the ones who are going to get institutionalized, which is good for blockchain, because regulation does need to come in as well. I know it could be a bit of a topic to speak about, but basically it's going to gradually get better and better. The transactions per second, it's always being upgraded. They're still hiring during the bear market. Obviously, it's a hard time, but their team is just getting better and better. And more devs are coming onto the scene in Algorand as well, because the main language for Algorand is Teal, and of course they have SDKs that like PyTeal, or they use JavaScript over in Algorand as well. So I feel like there's a lot that can be done with it. Obviously, Solidity is the biggest blockchain sort of language you use now if you want to build certain dApps and things like that. But basically, it's just a great blockchain. I feel like it goes for more of the impact wise. You know, they care about the environment, they care about social impact. I don't know if you've seen this in New York. I think 22nd of April, or not too sure when, but they shut down New York Times for a couple of minutes, I believe. It was quite big, and that was a very cool moment for Algorand, I believe. It kind of put them on the map out there as well for everyone walking around. They're like, you know, people talk about stories when they see Bitcoin for the first time on someone's T-shirt or on a billboard. I feel like that was Algorand's statement right there. And so, like in the next 10 years, it'll be very interesting.
And the technical benefits?
What did you say?
The technical benefits. You see, when I mentioned Algorand earlier, you said there are clear technical benefits. So I'm interested to see your perspective on the technical benefits.
Actually, so like the environment one, there's a few companies that are leveraging it, like Planet Watch. They're building the world's first blockchain-based platform for air quality sensors, so that helps on the eco side. And then Climate Trade actually made a partnership with transparency and traceability for carbon markets with Algorand. But some technical ones off the top of my head, um, their TPS, so their transactions per speed, I think is one of the best within the blockchain industry. Um, and then there's some off the top of my head, it's a lot harder to think about for the moment. Just finished my class in Java, so I have a lot of programming in my head. But but apart from that, there's it's actually one of the blockchains because it's pure proof of stake. It's so-called solved the blockchain trilemma, like the security as well. It's quantum resistant, or it's being built to be quantum resistant. There's advisors who are looking into that, which is the first blockchain I believe to do that. Now, if I'm wrong, feel free to quote me, but I don't even think Bitcoin is quantum resistant at the moment. Do you know? I don't think it is.
It's not.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why it's making moves to be, you know, in the next 10 years, the forefront. Like I have a personal ranking in my head of the top blockchains. I believe Bitcoin will always be there, of course, because it's the powerhouse in proof of work. It's the OG. Ethereum is the powerhouse in the first ever proper smart blockchain. And they've also integrated into proof of stake as well, so that's pretty cool. And then Cardano has a great marketing team, so I believe they will always be there too. But Algorand is definitely going to be in the forefront as well, in my prediction.
It's interesting that you talked before you started speaking about Algorand. You said you try not to shill it. You know, nothing you said is shilling. Everything you said is facts. And when you talk about shilling, you talk about the price. Oh, the price is going to go up. Well, why? Because I think it's going to go up. That's shilling. You're speaking to me technical terms, use cases, and that's really cool. So, yeah. So I want to. You have some announcements you said you wanted to make today. So I want to ask you what some of those announcements are.
Yeah. Let me see now. I'll try to remember them. There's quite a lot going on. I think some of them was like the off-chain Global that I got in with them. That was very cool. I actually have a nice story about that. I was in Zebu, that's a Web3 event over in London, and I met with Daniel over there. I was just sitting down at one of the dinners and just started chatting, and that's what I want to talk about is like the community as well. Like if you just go out and you start speaking to people, that's really how you get into it. Because obviously I got into the Web3 space very young, um, well, there is a lot of young people in the Web3 space at the moment, but I mean more so working in the Web3 space. And so if you just go to events, talk to people, you'd be very surprised like what you can do to get involved, which I think is quite an interesting topic because a lot of people want to be working online these days, which is really great asset to do. So I feel like being able to communicate is a very important skill, networking basically. And basically that's how I got in with them, was just sitting at a dinner and accidentally sitting beside someone, which is quite a cool story. And other ways like that. But any other general announcements? I'd say I have a few events I'd like to plan in 2023. I'm gonna hold off on a few for a few months and work hard on my college so I can get into the next level of it, because I want to do a lot more developing and create my own startups and venture in that way. But I don't think I have any necessarily big announcements to do at the moment. But I bet you it'll come into my head the minute we get off the call, Jamil.
I'm sure mine that's how it works. So, you did mention earlier, a little few minutes ago, that you are Gen Z, right? And I feel in some way there's a Gen Z, Gen X divide. I mean, it's obviously millennials, but there is a Gen X, Gen Z divide on how we look at community, metaverse, NFTs. Um, what do you think will be? What's the differences, and what do you think will be a common ground so we can build the future together?
That's funny you mentioned metaverse now. I'm surprised it wasn't mentioned earlier, actually. I feel like we both have the same goal in mind if we're in Web3. It's to give it more recognition and to build on it so it can be used in the best way possible. Um, I feel like a lot of Gen X on Twitter, they're quite with it. But then again, they could be the ones to say, we were always here instead. Gen Z are just coming in now. Um, I feel like as long as there's the same goal in mind, we can work together well. And Gen Z have a lot to give in like the marketing perspective. You can see that on many social media platforms like TikTok. There's a lot of Gen Z people running Gen X companies. Um, so that's a great like sort of partnership that the whole generations can make. But I think having people from different generations is very important to every company, because if it's all just one clumped together, it'll be like very biased, very one-sided views. Whereas if you bring in other people from different backgrounds, you can really get the full potential from your company, because different people's perspectives, and through that you can reach certain people that you wouldn't be able to reach if you didn't have those other team members. So growing that audience and getting the reach is very important for companies or for social media, which is what I do a lot of at the moment while I'm learning more technical side of things.
Yeah, I want to talk about that. Yeah, I think that makes sense. I'm obviously a Gen X, and I'm not on TikTok. I'm not the best social media person, but then I see social media people, shilling a coin, saying, "Oh, the price is up, the price is down, and I like it because of the price." Well, why is she like it? I don't know, price. And it doesn't make sense. But risk management and stuff, like to me, I understand. So
Yep.
crypto has a major PR problem, right? It has. It's mostly negative, right? And it's still there. It's still there after all these years. As a community ambassador, right? What can you help the community do, and what can you help the industry do to improve this problem?
I mean, I think first we need to. Now, this could be controversial, but bear markets are also very healthy. It's part of the cycle. You got to get rid of the Ponzi schemes. Um, got to get rid of the tokens that are just there to make some money quick, which there's a lot of, and it's very easy to spot. But it's not easy to spot if you're just joining the community. If you don't do a lot of research, which I think we need to market more, is like obviously we have the DYO, or do your own research, which I do think does help. But at a certain point, people will just type it and will just send it and won't even do it themselves, which I think a lot of that happens. Ultimately, I think people will learn by getting burnt first, and then until the cycle keeps going and going, people will actually start to learn that you do need to research. And a lot of the things though that is quite cool is it is interesting. It's not boring to research, or at least for me anyway. Like you don't even have to research super technical and read the white papers. Just do a simple Google and you know a bit more about whatever you're going to invest in. But I feel like to get the communities to come together, we need a lot less FUD on the news. Mainstream medias tend to target Web3 a little bit, but that's only because it's not institutionalized. That's why I think Algorand is a good representation of the blockchain industries to get institutionalized. We have a Turing Award-winning founder, which is like the Nobel Prize for computer science. It's pretty unbelievable. And with that, Algorand are making hires that like Stacey Warden, CEO of Algorand Foundation, she worked with JP Morgan. Um, so it's quite big there. So I can already see some partnerships that would happen that would work quite well. Obviously, FIFA and Algorand, they had a partnership as well. I don't know if you heard about that, but basically there's a bunch of NFTs from FIFA now going onto Algorand. It's already out there. I think it's FIFA Collect or FIFA Plus One. And so that is very cool too, because we're making partnerships with the Web2 world, the real world, which I feel like will just overall help how things are doing. There's a few other crypto.com. They do a lot of sponsorships for big teams. So if you like back in the day, and I say this as if I've been here for forever, which I haven't, but the Web3 world moves very fast, and I think you know that. Um, so every day there's something new, which is why I like it. And I feel like people do like that fast pace sometimes, but we get to see Web3 more and more through like partnerships or sponsorships. And even just that, I feel like it helps people a lot more. Because like I ask like people now, like my relatives, and I'm like, oh, do you know this? And sometimes they're like, oh yeah, I've heard of that. And actually, older people tend to know more about crypto because, well, obviously more life experience, but they've heard of Bitcoin for the past 10 years, or they've heard it like when it reached 20K for sure. Whereas Gen Z, it's only new to them, but I think they see more of a opportunity with it in some cases. Obviously not all, but it's because Gen Z are more used to being online. I believe it's the same with, social media and things like that. It's just naturally in our, you know, nature. But yeah, I feel like the main thing is as long as people have the same goal, and there's always going to be hate. So it's just about getting through that. But it's never going to change. There'll always be hate. There's hate in soccer. There's hate in everything. But I don't think that will slow down the community that much. It's still going to drive pretty hard, and time will be the essence of it all, really. Um, with time, we'll see more and more mainstream, mainstream cryptos that can be used for shops and things like that, which are already being used. When Bitcoin was first made, actually, there was markets where you could buy and sell with Bitcoin and stuff like that. And there's Bitcoin ATMs. Now, I'm only saying Bitcoin because obviously that is the main one at the moment. But in El Salvador, where they made Bitcoin the legal tender, that was actually a partnership with Kobe Banks as well, I believe. And they work a lot with Algorand. So Algorand sneaking in there again, and it's quite cool to see that. But not many people know that side of it because maybe they're not on Twitter deep into the Algorand side of things or researching it or reading blogs, which obviously not a lot of people want to do anyway. That's why we need to make it easier for people. And I think the way Web3 will work properly is when the blockchain is hidden and it's just there. It'll be much better that way. You know what I mean? It's tech. Who wants to learn about tech unless you're a tech person? So we need to stop putting it in people's faces that way and just build your companies and put it in there and maybe put it like somewhere like, oh, we use blockchain tech, and then people who want to read that, they can read that. You know what I mean?
I know exactly what you mean. And you're right. I have said that for a little while too, and or thought that. So you did say a couple interesting words. You know, you said you compared blockchain to the real world, and I want to ask you, what is the real world anyway? To you, the real world is online, and to online, and to people who never use the computer, the real world is not online. So what is the real world, and how do we navigate it?
I mean, I don't think anyone in the world could really not like be able to say how to navigate the real world. You know what I mean? We're kind of just born in this place and we gotta survive. So I feel like that's the main thing. Just walk your path, and wherever it leads you, it leads you.
That's good. That's good. That's some good wisdom. So yeah, I like it. Um, so there also is so let me ask you, why is building like I want to ask you about this too. So why is building a healthy non-infighting community, because you mentioned you're on Twitter and there's a lot of infighting now. Why is non-infighting helpful for the future of your project and of others who might be fighting right now?
Okay, so I mean, communities fight all the time, I guess. It could be a personal fight, it could be a fight about the technicalities or difference of opinions. I do believe difference of opinions is very important because I often see, I don't know, maybe not even an argument, maybe a tense conversation. It doesn't always have to be fighting. But if you click on that thread and you start reading through, you read different opinions and you learn things yourself. So I do think it is quite educated as long as it doesn't get too hateful, if you know what I mean. Um, so I do think you can learn a lot from it. But if your communities like are fighting a lot, I'd say the solution is figure out what the issue is and get your hands dirty and try to fix that solution. Because maybe it's because of your company's side, maybe someone doesn't like a certain thing, or they're getting a problem within your company, or maybe it's an outside conversation that's happening. You know, you can chime in and give a bit of clarity or a bit of your own knowledge that can kind of settle the things. And then for communities who are not fighting, it's well, that's obviously a blessing, but I do think it's not a negative to have a difference of opinions. I wouldn't call it fighting. I would say difference of opinions and passionate people.
And will that argument go away in the next bull market, or are you always going to have that?
Okay, I think the bull market helps everyone. The euphoric feeling is very nice. um, yeah, a lot of fighting will go away once the bull market is in, obviously. But the difference of opinions will always be there if it's about technicality or if it's about actual issues and things like that. But normal fighting over price, I mean, if someone's fighting over price, that's you're basically fighting with a wall. You can't change it, so don't waste your breath.
Yeah, that makes sense. So I want to thank you very much for speaking with me today. This has been a wonderful conversation. I enjoyed speaking with you. I have one last question, and it's how can people find out more information about you, about what you do, about Unbanks, Algorand, or um, Off-Chain Ireland? How can they find out anything more about that? How can they do that?
Perfect. So you can find me on Twitter at Gananim Tech. So that's GANAINMTECK, which a funny story about my name there. So obviously I wanted anonymous tech. So what I did instead, because that wasn't there, Ghananum is the Gaeilge, the Irish language for no name, because there is actually no anonymous word for in Ireland for in Irish. So I just decided to put no name, which is Ghananum, and then tech at the end. So kind of cool. And then feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. I use that quite a lot. I like LinkedIn's one of my favorite media platforms, I think. Sarah Jane Kenny, Sarah with no H. And yeah, if you want to find Unbanks, UNBANX on LinkedIn as well. We're on Twitter too. And feel free to reach out to me as well. I'll send you all the links. And then off chain, global is well, they're pretty big by themselves, but they're on LinkedIn too. And yeah, Algorand Ireland is a profile on LinkedIn as well, which is more specific to the Irish community. If you have any Irish listeners, that'd be quite cool. But Algorand Foundation is the main website to go. They're dedicated to like fulfilling the global promise of blockchain technology, and they're using the Algorand network to do that. So it's pretty cool. They're a non-profit as well.
Awesome. Thank you very much for your time today.
Have a good day.